This is the Round Table, a talk show brought to you by the Glastonbury Goddess Conference. In this circle, the priestesses of the ceremonial circle, the weavers of our annual gathering, talk about pivotal topics about our community, spirituality, and goddess. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our 6th episode in our 2nd season of the Round Table from the Glastonbury Goddess Conference. I'm here today with a lovely panel of ceremonialists from the Glastonbury Goddess Conference. So here we have 𝗪𝗛𝗘𝗕𝗢𝗪 𝗪𝗛𝗘𝗕𝗢𝗪, sorry.
Yeah, well, talking about sacred union, eh?
Exactly, that's the point.
I like that.
And then we have 𝗪𝗛𝗘𝗕𝗢𝗪 then. So
Hi.
and 𝗪𝗛𝗪𝗪𝗘𝗧.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, darling. The topic today is, well, it has to do with friendship in a way. And the title is What Are We Now? Meaning that is there a sacred union that does not involve a sexual partnership? Can companionship, friendship become a sacred union? And how much can we stretch the terms sacred and union? How much does that exercise widen our horizon? So it's delicate in a way as a topic, because in many ways, I mean, even if we don't consider sacred union, when we talk about relationships and even romantic relationships, there is kind of a standardized way we are supposed to behave. We are supposed to have sex, to have a union in a way. So when we move to the realm of sacred union, we can demystify a bit that constraint as well, and analyze if, in a way, a sacred union, is it bound necessarily to a sexual relationship or to a romantic relationship or to a marriage? Or is it something that can be developed from a friendship, from a companionship later on in life or early on? So when we think of sacred union, we think of, divine entities connecting souls. You have those images in our head, that we can Google to no end, of those two primal energies intertwining. And there are many beautiful images. But are there any kinds of sacred unions that come to mind when we think of sacred union, something that's made to compenetrate your life, to make your life something bigger than it is, and in a way also to evolve your life? So Sarah, can you think of any other version of a sacred union that does not involve a marriage or a sexual or romantic relationship?
I find this really fascinating, because to me, it's a perfect example of how humans can make their lives more complicated by trying to fit everything into a box.
Yeah.
And, I'm standing exactly into a box right now, so it kind of fits the metaphor.
Sure.
Why do we need to define what's in and what's not? Yeah. Who am I to tell you that your friendship is not a sacred union? Or that, your marriage, it's yes or not a sacred union? It might be. And then that's very much how you feel about it. Is that sacred to you?
Mm.
Yeah.
And I feel that the connection, with, whether the sexual element or not, is like, that can be very well part of it. That might not be part of it. That doesn't make it any less sacred. And to me, it's very much, if that's sacred to me, that's a sacred union. If that's sacred to the union, to the, the couple, it's a sacred union. But also, like, why do we need, to define what's in and what's not?
Yeah,
Mary, you were saying something.
I was kind of diving in. I think it's very much what you said in the beginning, Andrea, as well, and what you're saying as well, Sarah. It's like, are we focusing on the union, and is that a physical union, or are we focusing on the sacred? And if you're focusing on the union, for me, the question is it a physical union or a metaphysical union? Is it kind of be with energy? Is it an energetic union as well? Because I think it's quite broad, and like Sarah said, it is really about how people experience. I just if you look at the Facebook page, I just did a little questionnaire film about union with nature. So, no, I don't physically have a union with a tree. I'm here and the tree is there, but I really feel in the energetics of it. I feel the connection like a sacred connection with the tree, for instance, or it can be anything else. It can be immersing yourself in the waters. A ceremony. If you do a ceremonial merging in the waters, are you in sacred union with the waters? And I think there's loads of different ways that is, can be human. I know you're focusing on the human experience, Andrea, but I would even make it broader. It can be sacred union in the human experience, but also in nature, in the connection with our nature.
It's very interesting because I'd gone somewhere else with this question when we originally read it, and I love what you're saying, Sarah, in particular. Who are we to say what is and isn't? These semantics of what is sacred. I mean, I have very quite strong opinions about that in myself, what is and isn't. But that's mine. It doesn't have to define anybody else's. I think if we're looking from this inquiry today into the relational field between human beings, then there is something certainly extremely precious, a great treasure in all kinds of true relationships that are based on care and generosity and love, and that express as companionship or as just the support. So, for example, sibling relationships, or relationships between friends, or like you said, Andrea, people who choose to be companions for the end stages, maybe the last decades of their lives. And I mean, these are not relationships that are necessarily sexual, but they certainly can be, or about having families, or about having adventures together. They are based on a deepening of a beingness in. So there's and through that, can the sacred manifest? Yes, I think so. I personally don't believe that is common. But that doesn't take away from the great treasure and the great gift and the great beauty and importance of all these relationships that weave from how we choose to interconnect through love with other human beings, if we keep it in the human realm. I think for me personally, sacred union means something slightly different, and has, in my very personal life, absolutely is connected to sexual energy or sexual expression or erotic, ecstatic aliveness, which can be with humans, or like Marion was saying, in my experiences in nature, or in my connection to the divine. So I think this can be in all sorts of relationships, but it is very individual. And I don't think we can say it's this and not that. And it's okay to have different personal criteria around that. Actually, I don't have any issue with that at all. I think that's actually very beautiful. That's like beads on a string. Different beads make up a beautiful necklace of interconnection, interconnecting ideas of what that form is. What is sacred union? Which is really what I read this question to be underneath the question of the form that we're talking about. I think it's where we find it, which is very much where the ceremonialists are at in their own exploration as well. Don't you think, Sarah, Marion?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting way that we worked together. That in the ceremonial group, as you were talking about, that we are working in pairs this time, and there is definitely like when you say union, when I look at the 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 the center of the 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 I see that as like the gateway or the portal of creation that creates something that is more than the sum of the two. And I feel that with working in pairs as well, you know, you are creating something. And although you have no physical union between, I work with Caroline, and we don't have a physical union, but we do have this creative union, which of this coming together in that center, where from creation, it just flows out almost. It's very, and we have that as well, Katinka. In organizing the Goddess Conference, it's like when we really meet each other, there is a merging of some sort, a merging of minds, a merging of vision, ideas, and in a way, a union, although it's not a physical union. And from that is that beautiful creation of the Goddess Conference, and all that it entails. So yeah,
nice.
I think
nice foreshadowing for next year as well, Marion. Hey, creation.
Oh, creation. Yeah.
Portal of creation.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that there are loads of different ways to look at. I totally hear you, Katinka, about the traditional sacred union is about the sexual union, but I think there are different ways to experience it. Definitely.
I agree.
Sarah?
I would totally agree with that, and I think connected to the work that we have been doing for the Goddess Conference, it's a deepening every time in working with pairs and in like exploring the boundaries of different concepts, exploring also how other people's perspectives can enlarge ours, and how everything is like. And I love the Vesica Pisces as a symbol of a sacred union, but also if I look at every time we have raindrops on a lake, it's all of those interconnected circles and how they expand. And to me, that's very much has been the work of this year. It starts with our own drops, and then it joins with all of the different circles and the different drops.
I love that. That is a Vesica Pisces in nature, isn't it? Yeah, beautiful.
There is also a trigger factor in a way hidden in the question, because the sexual part of it, I find it particularly interesting in the fact that sacred, again, this is about something that will be the core of this year's Goddess Conference that will run from the 29th of July to the 3rd of August. Please do come. But the point is that it is at the core of it, I think, because it's something, sacred union itself might be something that we seek and that we find to overcome division that is persistent in our human experience, division from other people, division from loved people. And in a way, sexuality, I feel it's sometimes a great catalyst, a great access, a great portal to get through that division and just enter a new realm. And I was wondering when I created this question, was that what if sexuality was maybe because the byproduct of this reasoning is that some people or somehow we consider friendship or companionship to be a lesser being than it is. And then I was wondering, what if for some people sexuality is experienced not in the way maybe it should be at its fullness, but it's experienced not as much, and it's not a trigger for them. But what if they fought all their life against being able to make friends with someone, to be close to somebody psychologically and on an emotional level, and then companionship or friendship become that great challenge for them, that at the same time is a great catalyst for something they could never access before. Because I felt that in a way that maybe for some people that shift to sacred union really happens with companionship or with friendship, maybe because that's something they were never able to experience. They were even in sexual or romantic relationship, they never really met the other person until that thing they never had, they kind of meet the other person. So that's why I was wondering about the term union. So what would you think is the closest definition or exploration of union that you can feel in your life and within your own triggers as well and experiences? Where is that you feel union in that sense?
I mean, I find that really interesting. To me, what was coming to mind when we were describing that, it's almost a moment of epiphany. of experiencing something that, you know, it comes through us. And how beautiful is that when that happens? Whatever the portal, whether the portal is companionship, whether it's friendship, whether it's a romantic relationship, the beauty of being able to experience that deep connection, that epiphany of love, is to me like the glimpse of a sacred union. And it can last, or it can be, you know, momentaneous. And, you know, I think we talked before about how many portals can lead to that. And, you know, describing something as lesser than, that's again just humanity trying to create a ranking order of importance. And I don't think we need that.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Sarah. I think it's an unnecessary sort of hierarchy that is not real. And Andrea, as you said, yes, sexuality and lovemaking, so consensual, actual lovemaking, not just the moving of sexual energy between people, but, you know, actually the opening into the expansion of what that may mean. And that is a great portal to experience sacred union, or a form of it. But it can also be a place, a portal of pain or a portal of damage.
Yeah.
So, and it is the heart needs to be involved, which is what you're talking about. What if it is difficult to make heart's connection for whatever reasons, you know? If you've been bullied, say, as a child for whatever reason, then it might be hard to trust. And if it's hard to trust, it's hard to open into. So I think for me, there is a difference between talking about union and our experiences of connection and love. And again, no need to structure that in a greater or lesser order or something. And sacred union, which there is, to me, that it can be within all sorts of forms of relating, as long as it is, there is that heart connection, which, like Marion was saying, can be in work relationships sometimes as well, you know, work friendships. And when does it become sacred? Because sexual relationships, romantic relationships, have nothing to do with sacred union the vast majority of the time, actually, in our world, in my opinion. You know, so the two are not synonymous, I don't think. So I think really we need to be as broad-minded in this as we can be, while also really getting in touch with holding the center of what is sacred union. And for the purpose of the Goddess Conference, we are really working this year with our union from a place of the beloved, with the goddess of our heart, with the deity of our heart, and from an inner union of inner masculine, inner feminine, which is just a format of looking at different energy within us, of a state of integration within yourself, coming forwards into relationship with the divine. So these are actually different layers that we're talking about, really.
Yeah, I was just feeling into that. I actually really, the whole thing with relationship and the epiphany of love. I love that, Sarah. That's a very lovely thing. But what I feel is like, you know, when I was just thinking about physical touch and how important that is for us as humans, you know, for most mammals, but for us as humans. And I'm thinking, where is probably my most merging or in that place of love? And that's actually with my children. And I'm just really, when I give, you know, my daughter, my son, like a real hug, and I have it with other people as well, but it's like there is this epiphany of love, you know, there is this really presence of something that is, again, bigger than just the two people. There is and I'm you know, it doesn't have to be mother to child, but it also can be friend to friend, where you've experienced that. I think maybe that's where it becomes sacred, is that when there is a presence of something that is more, and, you know, I would call that goddess. But when I give my, I'm just going to say, when I give my daughter or my son like a really hug, like not just like hey, but a real hug, there is something more. That is not just me as Marion and one of my children. There is a presence of more, of goddess, of divine, of and that in that presence for me, there is the merging. It's not even human to human necessarily. It's in the energetics that, for me, I constantly come to this, the center of the 𝗪𝗪𝗘𝗙𝗢𝗪. I come to that all the time. Is that kind of elevates it into the sacred. And that's not every time, it's not like every time I give my children a hug, I feel that. But there are definitely moments where I feel that, and I feel that, with other people as well. And you say it's not, when you give somebody a hug, it's not sexual, but it is physical. And I really feel the sacred union in those moments.
Yeah, beautiful, Marianne. Yeah.
And I also think that there is a seed in there when we think about a goddess conference being the lower ear, and that was actually why this question was in our many panels that we're doing in the roundtable, because it was like, this is the lower ear. And if I think about goddess, I feel like these archetypes that you are weaving, that you are rebuilding in many different facets. But there's the lower ear, which is where you stop being, I'm a child, I'm a maiden, and like the world is feeding me, nurturing me, healing me. The lower ear is when you're like, oh, it's not just about me. It's about, it's this expansion. So I was like, okay, so it's not just, sacred union is not just about those two, Yeshua, Magdalene, or all these, parallels that happen. But it's like, what if there's more? What if this is sacred union is about our capability of not being just one, but open. And that is terrifying and scaring. I mean, it can be sexual in most of times. And for who's listening, and you know that already, but if you go through the teachings of Katinka, the Path of Love Mystery School, many times I don't get it exactly from Katinka's vocabulary about sexuality, but then I shift her things, and I'm like, well, if the thing she's saying about sexuality, does it apply to my emotional heart? And it usually does. And I'm like, oh, okay. There is that block, there is that trigger, there is that sense of disconnection. So I agree, it's a vocabulary, but as well, there is that sense of openness in the lower ear. There is that sense of it's not just about me, but it's about the more we can become, that sense of union. So that's why I was wondering about friendship and companionship, because I feel it happens to us. And many times when we experience that sexual sacred union, in a way, it's with people that ultimately they become also, or they are also the closest friends we have, the person who really see us in a way. And so there is something about opening there. So the question is, the final one is, since we mastered the concept of union being so diverse, are we seeking union, or are we open to union so that we can experience the sacred? So does that make the sacred not just about mysteries and being up there like I do all the time on the tour, parting mists and doing this kind of stuff, but also experiencing this unwritten language, this epiphany of love that we can access through the portal of union? So is the path of the goddess conference sacred union a portal we open so that people can see what's beyond themselves and experience this epiphany of love? Is this what it's happening this year, Marion?
Yeah, definitely. I think we focus very much on saying it's this goddess of sacred union, but actually the greater archetype we're working with is the goddess of love. And I feel that that love that manifests in a lot of ways. And I feel that when I was talking about my children, but actually my children are grown-ups. And when I meet them now, they're not kids, you know, they are actually equals. And they are the people who challenge me, and they are the people, you know, but they are grown-ups.
Yeah.
And so I have that. It's more like a friendship love that you have now than I'm the mother and they're the children, you know. And the same with friends. It's like that opening of, I think it is a vulnerability. I think opening your heart like that is a vulnerability, and there are definitely people you can do that with, and there's people you cannot do that with. And so but I feel that the presence of the goddess of love and her asking us to come into that open heart space and to meet another person, whether it's a beloved or a friend, in that space. I think that is very much it. And also what I also thought about was that kind of we are the beloved, as we are the goddess of love. When we open into that space, we embody her, not like a ceremony embodied, but we bring her energy through. And if we bring our energy through as that beloved in an equal space, I think there is you can have sacred union with different people. Yeah. My favorite symbol.
Well, Sarah, have you ever experienced, outside, of course, of your relationship, your love relationships, but have you ever experienced something that felt unusually close, and that there was not maybe a lover, maybe it was not but was it somebody who allowed you in your life to access the sacred in a way that you didn't before, and it was not necessarily sexual or intended to be romantic? Did it happen to you?
Yeah, I would say so. And I think connected to that will come the concept of friendship. I have that connection with, and especially with a couple of really, really good friends of mine, where we're almost telepathically connected in a way. And sexual tension was never there. But that level of deep intrinsic connection is definitely there. And we might not see each other for years, or not being in the same physical space, and that connection will still be there. Where that epiphany of love, it's very much part of it. And I would say also during my years forming as a priestess, some of the connections with the goddess can be very, very much what you have described. Sometimes there could be sexual tensions there, sometimes not, and it's more a metaphysical connection in a way, but it's very much present on what I really consider a sacred union. Even the act of embodiment is a deep sacred union for that moment in time.
Yeah,
that we get to experience, and that we get to share with other people as well, to open a portal in them to experience that connection.
Yes, beautiful. I really resonate with everything you've both been saying. I think we are constantly opening portals. This is part of our, I want to say I mean actually everybody who is called goddess. We are opening portals both into the past and into the future, into the mysteries, into the other world, into Avalon, into our own soul. And for me, the lover goddess, she is love. Goddess is love, if you have to give it a name. And love has many, 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 many different forms. So I think the resistance that people may have around having to be in a relationship, or missing a lover, or not wanting touch, or being afraid of being hurt again through a sexual connection, or feeling lesser because they don't have a love partnership. For her, this doesn't exist. she is love. So your portal to sacred union with her is through whatever you deeply love in your life. You know, and I think that's really good to remember for all of us who are working in these partnerships of the weaving of the conference and in the ceremonial group in our pairs, that we manifest that field of love so that people can come and be reminded of that is what she is. And she is that which we love, and she loves us.
Great. Yeah.
Oh, that is so beautiful and a very good closing line. Thank you, Katinka, for this. And I know I could trust you with this, and perfectly done. Oh my God! And
Goddess.
Oh, got it. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, God. Oh, boy. Union of both. How about that? Goddess and God.
That's the point. And what I really love is that I think many people that have a trigger within, or let's say resistance to the concept of sacred union, are longing for union, are longing for connection, and they feel that resistance because they know that there is a portal that they don't necessarily want to touch that topic, feel that disconnection, that distance, that division that persists in walls all around them. So our collective suggestion would be follow that voice, that longing, that call to come back. You don't need to be in a couple, you don't need to be in a companionship. You just come and experience from the 29th of July to the 3rd of August this experience in Avalon, where we are a huge community of loving people, where you can experience also what community is like, what even temporary companionship feels like. This crowd of people that will cheer you up and will be there with you when you fall down. They'll be falling with you, and they'll be rising up, and they'll be celebrating with you. So come and experience that specific kind of union. Let's open our hearts again. And please visit goddessconference.com to find all our packages with tickets. 𝗪𝗛𝗓 and Katinka published this very week on the Goddess Conference Facebook page. Beautiful tickets. There are many of these. If you're a group, if you're single, if you're a couple, if you're a mother, if you're just coming for days or for the whole week, we are there for you. So please do come. Please answer the call and come to us. The Goddess Conference runs from the 29th of July to the 3rd of August in Glastonbury, Avalon. If you intend to come, please book your accommodation now. It's April. And also, please do your government ticket to enter, which is called Marion
ETA.
ETA. It takes just 3 days to receive, but please do that in advance, so we know that you'll be coming and you won't be left out of the UK, so please do that. And
it's free. Yeah. It's free, but you have to do it. Yes, if you are not a resident of the UK.
Yeah, it's free-ish. It's kind of £10 around that.
Yeah,
so,
£10.
It's basically.
Oh, is it? Okay, sorry. It's not free. It's £10.
It's a cashew nuts coffee on the high street in Glastonbury, so you can do that. It's feasible. So please do that. And again, thank you so much, Katinka, Marion, and Sarah, for being here today. It's been a pleasure and a delight to discuss this topic. And we are waiting for you in a couple of weeks. The next topic will be sacred polygons. In the dualistic geometry of couples divine, gods and goddesses, is there space for a multifaceted geometry of sacred union? How does a polyamorous relationship work in a sacred union? We discussed about this briefly in other topics, but we'll be diving deep into this one next time. So I'll see you here next time. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here, and have a blessed and beautiful day. Bye, darlings.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.